Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, welcome to another Q&A for the 2024 San Francisco Independent Short Film Festival. This is the Q&A for our opening night filmmakers. And we got opening night filmmakers here. Hey, everybody. Hi, filmmakers.
Hey.
Hello.
Right on. Thanks for being here. And congratulations on getting into our film festival, but also for finishing a film. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And
Yes,
who do we
thank
got on the
you.
line here? Real quick, chances are the people have already watched your movies and now are watching this Q&A right after seeing your film, so you don't need to describe your plot. But maybe just tell me who you are. Taylor, I'll start with you, and your role in what film.
Absolutely. My name is Taylor Joshua Rankin, and I'm the writer, director, and composer for the short film The Snow Leopard.
Impressive.
Awesome.
Well done. Palvinder and Ick, how about you next, please?
Palvinder and Nick, we're the writer, directors, and cinematographer for I Hate You.
And we love your movie.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And next for me is Timothy.
Hey everyone, I'm Timothy Cooper, and I'm the writer-director of Need.
A very fun film. Excellent job. And last but not least, Kirsty.
Hey, I'm Kirsty Bryan, and I'm the writer and director of Stalled in Eight Etudes.
Thanks for being here, Kirsty. Where are you calling from, Kirsty?
I'm in the Bronx.
All right. I thought
And
I
I
heard
will
you say
tell
that
you,
one.
we've got somebody from Japan on the call.
Who's from Japan on the call?
I'm not from Japan, although I'm in Japan for the Sapporo International Short Film Festival. But I normally live in Brooklyn, but I'm here with Need.
All right. Come by. Right on. Palvinder and Ick, where are you guys calling from?
San Jose. So just
All right.
in South New, yeah.
Neighbors. Very good.
Yep.
And Taylor, how about you? Where are you calling from?
Sure. Los Angeles County, Pasadena specifically.
Right on. I'm in San Francisco. Well, we got a nice representation here. Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Kirsty, let's start with you. How did
Yeah.
this movie come about? What inspired you to make this movie?
Yeah, I wrote Stalled in Eight Etudes in the midst of COVID when I was like, I need to make something. I need something that's COVID friendly. And I work as an actress and a filmmaker. So I was like, what would be like the most delicious thing I could write for like an amazing actor? So that's where Stalled in Eight Etudes came from. It was eight women in a courthouse bathroom played by one actress. So it's a little
I can
bit,
see that now. It kind of makes sense. It was written by an actor.
yeah. Yeah, so it was meant as a gift to an extraordinary actress, and also it was one location, COVID safe. That I wish it was more meaningful than that, but that was kind
No,
of
with
the
sometimes less is more, simpler is better. Especially, I could talk to you guys individually about your movies all night long, but the single location for an independent film is sometimes, a stroke of genius, maybe.
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, I have $0, but I do have access to talent. But actually, why we ended up coming, we actually shot in San Francisco.
Oh,
For women filmmakers, this is something you should know. San Francisco has an extraordinary production company called Charming Stranger Films, and they
Yes.
are there to champion women filmmakers. So my first short played. It was called Coven Film Festival at the time in San Francisco, and they closed their doors in the midst of COVID. But they approached me, asked me if I had anything else, and I pitched this idea hard, and they went for it. So the one
and
caveat,
refresh. What's the name of the organization again?
yeah, it's called Charming Stranger Films,
Okay, thank you.
and
And
definitely a good resource.
cool, thank you. And then I hate you guys. Your film. Sorry, I had to do that. I don't hate you guys, but one thing too. All these films may be a little bit neat as well, but you're kind of single location too. The brilliance of your film. I mean, are you the actor in it, Ick?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, okay. The screen's small. The brilliance of it is the kind of the single location, even though you go in and out of the cafe or whatever. But it's simple, but wonderful and funny.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was actually based on the same thing, single location, and then we're like, okay, we're in this location too long. Where's another location right outside of the location? Let's go walk around to a car, go back. All the rest of it was free, and so yeah, the whole thing was kind of based on creating a single location, tense kind of thing, comedy around
So
that.
so did the inspiration come like Kirsty, or we got to create a movie? We want to make a movie, and then what do we have available to us?
Yeah, the location, and then I had just picked up Anna Karenina, and literally on the first page was a dude who had to go explain to his wife he had cheated on her, like she found out, and he had to face that. And we're like, oh, that's such an interesting situation for a person to be in. And then it was kind of that's where it started, and then we just let the characters kind of take off for that.
Wow, wow. Well, I got to move on, but I can keep asking you guys questions. And then Taylor, I mean, yeah, single location, right? Do I remember correctly?
Yeah, so the opening scene is shot at a different location that the rest of the film is shot at. So the opening scene is in a sort of, it's a very kind of dreamy, kind of David Lynch style thing where we're entering a sort of big, beautiful concert hall. And that was shot at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, which is my alma mater. And then the rest of the film takes place at the composer mentor's house. And this was shot at a house in the Oakland Hills. And all the rooms that take place in the film were shot. None of them are built on a sound stage. They were all shot in the actual house of in the setting. It's the composer's house, but in real life, it is a composer person that is an old friend of mine who has this beautiful house in the Oakland Hills.
Well, now back to my original question. Go ahead.
That first shot was fucking amazing. That was like I was like in shocked in that first shot. You guys did an amazing job on that.
I love it.
Thank you.
But back to my first question I asked Kirsty, what inspired this movie, Taylor?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a composer myself. I've gone through, the world of music academia as a composer. And so part of that experience is you seek out a composer teacher, and that relationship is very kind of, it's special, but it's also kind of very like medieval, like if you wanted to be a blacksmith, like you had to work with a blacksmith teacher, and so it's very kind of like you seek out a teacher to work with, and you're working with them for 4 years, 5 years. This is a person that you develop such a strong emotional relationship, and to the point where it blurs the lines sometimes between teacher and like family member. And so this is something that I really wanted to show in something from personal experience, sort of that sort of tension that comes from a composer student and a composer mentor, and the myriad of things that can come out of that.
Well, you captured it well.
Thank you.
Timothy, if I remember correctly, multiple locations, but
mostly,
what was the inspiration for your film?
Yeah,
did you see a UFO?
I've never seen a UFO yet that I know of, but I actually want to say I also have a Bay Area connection. Like it seems like every single person here, which is that I was born in San Jose, and so. And so we shot in Brooklyn where I live, but I do have that connection. I mean, I go the OG connection.
Cool.
But we actually shot in just in and around that one house in Midwood, Brooklyn, and we were very lucky because my film takes place in the 1960s, and this house that my friend had filmed in had been built well before that, so it was basically preserved from the way it looked in the 60s.
Well, so that was your friends. So
a friend connected us with this house, and we became friends with the owners.
Okay, so because where did the inspiration for this film come from? Sometimes it's the resources you have, and we'll make a movie around it.
I mean, I connected with Kirsty in that it was written during COVID, and it was a reaction in a way. I mean, I don't think you will see this necessarily in the film, but now that you know this, you might see it, which is, I just wondered how people would react to what if COVID couldn't unite us, what could possibly unite us? And I thought, well, maybe if aliens landed, would something even bigger than a worldwide pandemic unite us? And I wanted them to be not threatening aliens necessarily.
Yeah.
More like, what do we project on to them? How do we interpret them? And how do we use that to either react with fear or with acceptance and making ourselves better as a result?
Yeah, your film makes me chuckle. Very imaginative for sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And so, another thing that was maybe challenging, kind of art, period, the period piece, not art period, but, 1960s, 50s, 60s.
Yes, in 1963 is when it took place in my mind, and what we're talking about when it mentions the Vietnam War, and
Right.
so it was
What
like
was
closely
that
related to
was that besides just making a movie being challenging, was that one of the more challenging things to do? That
Oh,
time
it's a
period?
terrible idea, and I do not recommend it in any way, making a period piece in general, and especially for a short film. But
And
luckily,
probably
I
a
was,
very low budget, right? It's like, yeah, you got plenty of
uh,
money for that.
yeah, luckily I got very lucky with my amazing production designer, producers, wardrobe designer, hair and makeup, who all really leaned in and embraced that and made it something where it actually used costumes from that period, and it just really sets it in a way that you're not expecting aliens to just show up, and then they do.
Indeed. Kirsty, talk about a challenge in making your film. Just the bathroom stall.
Yeah, I think finding the bathroom was a big challenge.
Seriously?
The thing is I wanted the bathroom. It's a courthouse. I wanted to have a texture, and we also had funding to give to someone in the San Francisco area. So I looked at the Women's Center. I looked at museums, but to move this camera how we needed it, for those that have seen the film, it's kind of shot like a oneer. So the camera movement is allegedly tight. So we ended up shooting at Chabot College. Everyone should write a film for this school. It is perfect for a zombie apocalypse film. And they were so supportive. And but their building is locked in time. 1967 was the last time they updated that bathroom, and it's
Wow.
But wait a minute, so like, because I'm thinking bathroom, right? And you got, let's say, minimal crew, sound, camera, AC, make all the director, producer, and your actors in a bathroom.
oh yes, yes. Actually, our camera was in their own stalls, pulling focus from like a stall, and up on. So yes,
So would you
everybody
guys go
was
do your oneer, and then like everybody else, the minimal crew, and then the
Yep.
actor out when they finish their shot scene?
Yeah, yeah, and there's actually an extraordinary camera operator that worked with us from San Francisco, and he, carried this beautifully.
Nice. How about for Pelvinder and Ika? What was the most challenging thing?
Most
What
challenging
was
thing,
some
it
challenges?
was not having permission to shoot anywhere outside the coffee shop. So we shot in downtown Palo Alto, and we just kind of,
Yeah,
said,
it seemed like your traffic was very well coordinated
yeah.
because it was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just had to, anytime cops rolled by, we'd play it cool, and then we just keep shooting after they
So did
left.
you have a minimal crew and a small camera to do so?
Yeah, it was a crew of 3 people.
Oh, excellent. Oh, that's
Yeah.
inspiring. As a filmmaker myself, it's like, just go out, you can do it. You don't need tons of money and tons of
Yeah.
gear. It helps sometimes, but sometimes it's not appropriate.
Yeah. I mean, like, just being outside and how beautiful Palo Alto is and how much traffic there is, it feels like the budget is bigger just because it looks coordinated, and so it's like it kind of
Yeah,
helps
your
having so
production,
much chaos.
yeah, your production value seems definitely more bigger and coordinated, both because of what you just described, and then your actors pull it off,
It's good.
right? Oh, this guy,
They're
yeah.
okay.
The answer is yes, they
The
do.
female actor pulls it off. The male's okay.
Ah,
I agree. I agree.
No, you're hilarious, man. You guys are how was that? Did you guys just like cast each other, or you knew the chemistry was there, and did the chemistry develop because you guys are like a real couple,
Yeah.
having the conversation?
It was his idea to put me in it, and because we needed somebody who looked like enough of an asshole that he would cheat on his girlfriend, not so much an asshole that he wouldn't feel bad about it. So
That's
Yeah.
about what his face looks like.
Brilliant casting. You described it perfectly. It's like, what an asshole, and he's so funny and enjoyable. I'm kidding, but you were seriously, the acting is well done, man. It's like it carries it. I totally think that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
And then the acting in all these movies is fantastic. This actually, I didn't program it for that reason, but now that I think about it, like the acting in all these films are fantastic. Let's talk about that a little bit. But Taylor, your turn now. Performances are brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so like we found it's basically like our film is like sort of a two-hander, right? So we have our composer student and our composer mentor, and they're sort of like, gabbing on about this piece that the composer student, who's played by the wonderful Sarah Nyman, and she's like more of like a comedy aficionado, but like there was something about her tape that like I really responded to, and I was like I think you can do like dramatic work, and she just like dove into it, and then I worked with the composer mentor, and he is a well-known Shakespeare teacher in the Bay Area. And then at about halfway through the film, they're talking about this string quartet piece that the composer student is working on. And then the string quartet actually shows up to perform that piece. And the thing about the string quartet players is they are not all actors. None of them are actually actors. They are all professional string players.
That was a question
including,
for me. It was all very,
yes.
Yeah, they had to be real musicians. I mean, they're.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to budget
playing.
for real musicians because they won't come.
Yes, yeah, and you also have to budget for the fact that they are acting on screen. They have lines and they have like physical like presence and delivery, and they have blocking, and so it wasn't just like, can you come into the studio and play this thing? Like it was like, can you come in and be a character? And for all of them, it was very, 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 very new. And a lot of people feel like our first violinist, that she like totally steals the show halfway through. She definitely injects
awesome.
a sort of energy like that the film has been like wanting, and she has never acted before in her life. She's never been on a camera. She is just a string player that I'm friends with, and like she's never been, but she does this thing with her eyes, and she emotes so well, and like I literally want to like cast her in everything I make forever, because just she's got this like crispness and just this expression to her eyes, which is incredible. But we were lucky to have all the actors that we had on our entire project.
The casting in all these shorts is excellent. Timothy, yours as well. Totally believable, even though it's a far-fetched situation in a different time period.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're so lucky to have. I used a great casting directors, Kate Geller and Ross Shankman, and they just did a fantastic job of finding. Actually, it was Anna Cruz Kane, who's from Barbie, and Danny DeFerrari, who's from Oppenheimer. So we were like, can we use this in marketing? Can we call this Barbie Oppenheimer 2? Barbenheimer 2. And then we realized, no, we can't. Probably don't want to get sued by billion-dollar studios, but they were just so fantastic in grounding it in truth and in making these situations really believable, and they believed in these characters, and so that makes all the difference.
Yeah, you just nailed the word truth. And usually it's a long, hard casting process that you kind of have to grind out, or you can just ask your good friend, and they're just right for the role. Like in I Hate You, and get lucky.
Like in I Hate You.
Yeah, jerks. That's just wonderful. Nice and easy. That usually doesn't work.
Yeah, we're actually brothers, so it was a lot easier than even that. So
wonderful. That's great. Kirsty, and you said the women were part of a local group here in San Francisco.
Yeah, the producers
did you have a long casting process, or did you? What was it like?
the role called for an extraordinary performer and somebody that was, could just chameleon change. And I looped in a pal, Aaron Schoonover, great casting director, and he said, I saw this woman in a play, Tracy Bonner, and I was like, let's do it. And I gave Tracy the script, and there was no way to really audition for this. I met her on Zoom. I did meet a number of other folks too, but I met her on Zoom, and it was like, it's yours. Let us do it. And then we brought in also a very extraordinary young performer, Celine Jackson, who makes a special appearance at the end. But Megan Grays, who does our hair and makeup, she became a real critical collaborator in creating all these looks. And of course, my cinematographer, Darren Joe, who actually worked with me on my other film, is probably my closest collaborator on this to get the movement of the camera right and to make the magic trick happen.
And you just inspired another question too that all these films have that I'm kind of realizing now, that there definitely is a signature style. Not whether you guys deliberately meant it or not, but you definitely, you put your style on it. Was that deliberate, Kirsty? I mean,
yeah, it turns out that my work has its own taste. And it's
like
weird.
Your voice, or you kind of like just let it come out and it kind of finds the way to express itself.
I think it's that. I think it's like, if you can trust your voice. I was shocked that our first showing of our film, people didn't know that she was the same person. And I even told filmmakers that came, and they were like, I forgot you told me that. And then they watched it, and it was this, like, when her name came across people were like, wait, what? And so to achieve the magic trick that I so envisioned was giving, an extraordinary performer a chance to really show her range.
Yeah.
But also because of Tracy Bonner and these artists that are on the film took a greater meaning on than I ever anticipated. So
yeah.
That's just good art.
Yeah. Each of you talk about kind of like, your touch on the film. Taylor, yours is definitely also stylistic and, a director's vision. You can sense it, see it. Deliberate or kind of a little bit lucky too?
Yeah, no. I mean, everything was completely planned and structured out before. I mean, I worked long hours with our cinematographer, Joshua Pasanos, who is a Bay Area legend. If you've worked in the Bay Area, Joshua. He was lucky enough for us. He was interested in the project and jumped in, and we really just dug deep, and it was, I would show him scenes, and one scene would be about blocking, and one scene would be, these are different films, and I'm like, this scene is about framing, this scene is about blocking, this scene is about the couple of oneers that we have in the film, and like, this is like, it was all about like having this sort of very controlled choreography with the actors and the camera. The idea behind that was that these composers have such control over their own craft as composers. It's very, steady, controlled craft. They're
Right.
professionals. And then it was to show that craft via the camera movements and via the choreography. So out of that came the film's style.
Yeah, excellent. And Pelvinder and Ick, your kind of touch style is in the performance more than say the cinematography, right, or the lighting. But there is definitely. Did you have any influences for your film, or was it just pure comedy and entertainment?
Yeah, the first I would say, like, the first is Snatch, the movie Snatch, the very, very lifelike style where everything is moving. You're trying to get as much life into the acting, into the movement, just have as much life as possible. So it's like that's the first movement of what what me personally, why I first wanted to start making movies. But what would you say? There's something
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's kind of like you said, it's not very deliberate. It's just whatever makes sense.
characters.
in each situation. So it was something we're not very aware of or conscious of, but this is just what comes out when
Yeah,
we're like, okay,
because it was more in the performances than it was in the construction of the film, if you will. Although that I love the opening. I just remember there's a rapid editing thing that was you see it a lot, but it added to the humor, like the coffee being made or something.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
it
there
was
you go.
awesome. It was
Forgive the
awesome.
sound effects, yeah.
That's actually what we did. We did it with our own hands.
It was awesome.
And Tim, very stylistic, of course. Influences, inspirations for that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had all sorts of, I mean,
Barbie?
one that comes to Barbie. I mean, we do, a lot of period pieces, but stuff like Pleasantville, stuff where there's kind of a surreal element that comes into it, which is in this case the aliens. And we were, in terms of the style, we were, we wanted to make it really colorful, but sticking with the time period, sticking with those colors that were more prevalent than in the costumes, in the color, color design, in the cinematography. Working with my longtime cinematographer, Evan Jake Cohen, who's just so amazing, and his colorist, Andrew Francis, to really make that feel like the period, but not in any sort of drab way, like for
Right.
some reason they were suddenly they were in black and white. It was like, yeah, of course
Yeah.
there were the
So let me ask you on the
TV was
same
black
kind
and
of
white.
theme. What about food? I remember the pies and food.
Yeah.
Was that
Y-
what kind of influence was that? And what was the reason for that? I can't remember exactly what happened. Forgive me, but
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean it's called Need for that reason. It's a woman who wants to be a baker, and her
gotcha.
husband doesn't, is appreciative of her baking, but doesn't really see why she needs to pursue that, and he wants her to just stay around the house. And so because that felt like a realistic situation in those days, and because I myself love baking,
Ah,
and it was
okay.
good wordplay, and we get to picture a lot of food, and her food gets, speaking of style, gets increasingly wacky and unhinged as these aliens are affecting everyone around her, and she wishes they would affect her, and they do affect her, her output of her baking, and it just becomes more and more wild, crazy, and
Yeah,
colorful.
very cool, very cool. And that's if you remember too during the pandemic. Of course, I'm sure but everyone was taking up baking or making bread and posting those photos online.
Exactly. So you can see all those influences, coming into play of baking and having,
Yeah.
not much else to do during the pandemic at times.
It's the
Uh,
2023, 2024 films, like the themes that you're seeing, I'm sure, Jason, because you see so many films. Like
Yeah,
I think
well,
it's like
Yeah.
right after, there was, we put programs like, during the pandemic or meanwhile during the pandemic, but we had to move on from that. So what's something, maybe let's do two more questions. What's like a highlight of that making your movie? What's a joyous moment, a takeaway, a highlight? Kirsty, the camera's on you.
oh
What's
man, it was so much fun. Like it was just from there, there's just projects that have a flow behind them and but it was intended as a playground for everybody. So I felt like, that just everybody kind of got a chance to show their like the creativity they can't necessarily take on to sets that, if you get hired for certain jobs or something like that. So I had a great time, and I think that playfulness kind of came across
Right.
from all of
You
us.
truly sound like an actor, So it was all about the process, right?
Honestly, it was about the process. I'm very happy the film looks so beautiful.
But
And of
most
course,
filmmakers, like, they wanted to achieve their script to the T, and didn't they? And you were like, enjoy the
yeah,
process.
what's so funny is if you ask me, did we improv? I would say no, we improv not one thing. It's so by design because we had to, it was so locked in each character because we had to do the seamless thing.
Yeah.
But
Taylor, oh, go ahead. Go
Tracy's
ahead.
impossible to cut. Go on. Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna ask Taylor, each one of you the same question. Taylor, a highlight, a takeaway, the most memorable moment.
Yeah. I mean, It was all very difficult.
It was no
I
fun.
mean, it was no, it was simultaneously like a lot of hard work and a lot of difficulty. Like when I first presented this script, it was much longer, and so part of like the difficulty of just making this short happen was just condensing and we actually like took one of the scenes from the short and just shot it by itself. It was that opening shot that you were referring to earlier, and like we used that to crowd fund for the rest of the short. And the idea behind that was like, this is not just a proof of concept of the short. Like, look, like this is actually a slice of the pizza that you are going to get the rest of if you fund our short. So like that was kind of like our marketing plan behind that. But like that was a single day, something about 13 total extras, all that I had grouped in different. I basically had like grouped like them in like quadrants of 4, and I had named them like that was the red group, that was the yellow group, that was the orange group, that was the blue group. And then when I shouted action, it was like go red, and they had a specific choreography movement where they would go around in a certain way, and orange would go down their own little path, yellow would go down their own little path, blue would go down their own little path, and then I would direct our lead actress down the actual aisle of the concert hall. And so that was day 1 on the entire short, because we needed to fund the rest of the short with that. And that was the hardest shot, had the most people. And I'm coming there and being like, okay, go red, go orange, go blue, go yellow. And we did, I think, 27 takes. It was a single day, and take 13 and 14 are usable. Take 13 is what is in the short. And it's very the sort of dreamy type thing. It's a very imagined sort of future for this character. So that was a big deal for us.
Incredible, rewarding. Timothy, takeaway, same question.
Yeah.
Highlight, most memorable moment, filmmaking moments.
I mean, it's interesting, almost the opposite of what like Kirsty maybe was saying. It was like the improv part was really rewarding for us, because I was lucky enough to get to rehearse with the actors the day before, and I have a background in improv from Upright Citizens Brigade and other theaters, and performing it and directing it, and I love using improv while making sure that we get the script, we capture the lines, and just to see how the actors embodied it and what felt natural to them. And I always listen to their suggestions within reason and try to make sure that it, is feeling natural to them, and listening if it makes things better. And they did make things better. And especially, as you may remember, and for those of you who haven't seen it yet, the different characters around our main character start getting possessed by the spirit of the aliens. And so how we would embody that and the craziness of their physical manifestations of these possessions was something we really had fun. We all did it together. We were all playing around physically and saying, how could this be crazy and yet believable at the same time?
Yeah, you can see the fun. You can see it.
Awesome.
Palvinder and Ik, we'll end on you. Last but not least, what's a takeaway, a highlight?
I think the highlight for us was in the writing of the script. Like we wrote it in such a way where once we figured out who the characters were, we were going to let them sort of figure out where it goes. Like just let them talk to each other and see what happens and let it unfold. And we didn't have like a predetermined outcome. But one thing we assumed was that this guy was not going to get another chance from her. Like she was not going to give him another chance, but somehow this fucker talked her into it. So we were surprised when that happened.
Yeah, it seemed like a surprise too. I actually didn't see the twist coming, if you will, if it's a twist of her getting one up on him, right?
Yeah.
But that character was lucky to have her.
Yes,
and we're lucky to have all you guys and your films. Lots of fun. Thank you for making them, and keep on making movies.
We appreciate you,
Yeah.
Jason.
Thank
We're
you
so
Thank you so
honored
much,
to be
Jason.
here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Right on.
My
All right,
pleasure.
everybody. Thank you for watching this Q&A of opening night for the 2024 San Francisco Short Film Festival. Filmmakers, good work. Thank you for
Thank
being here.
you.
Bye-bye.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.